Oh, um, hello. This is Jane today, and we are wanting to speak with the Raw Collective, and we invite them in to talk to us and help us to understand with greater clarity their contribution to humanity, known as the raw material, which was channeled during the 1980s. We are seeking further clarity regarding that information. Can we speak with you today?
Yes, we would like to share the information that it is a part of the channelers' past lifetimes or concurrent lifetimes that we're experiencing on that consciousness experience of the planet. And so they were able to tap into their other lifetimes that were existing. So they were gatekeepers of information, as you will say. So they had great access to that information, which they could collect and bring forward to be able to help. So they had full online access to that information to be able to have the bigger perspective of that inventory, information, processes and approaches to life, the way of having the inner peace and to have connections of others. So they were able to pull that information out here to this planet for those who are needing that information. They were able to tap in first originally to be able to help themselves because they felt so, we don't want to say lost, but they were disconnected and very curious of what was the purpose of their lifetimes here. They felt like they had something bigger to share. They felt like they were something bigger. So they were here curious, very curious to explore and remember who they were. And so they were part of sharing that bigger information for others who also felt the same way. It was to help remind and remember those people of bigger things than just their experiences here on this planet at that time. Many were starting to awaken back then for very important reasons and purposes. And so they were starting to be able to call and bring in information to be able to help them move forward with a bigger perspective of what was the narrative and the conversations that were happening in their circles, in their lives. Remembering back then when they were starting to grow up, there was no internet. There was lack of connections and communications with all. So they were very small in their little communities, having these bigger questions. So they needed more clarifications. This never left them. They were always seeking more information. And so when they got adult and could figure out how to connect into higher perspective beings, they did. And that was their journey of their channeling and their information that they called upon and were of service to share with others. Yes, we're very much here. We are willing to share our information with you again because this is the time to be confirming to those who are listening who we are, why we are, and how we can help you moving forward.
Well, I'm very appreciative of your coming in today to speak with us. Could we begin with you answering just who you are, where you come from?
Well, we all come from source. And from our perspective, we are the consciousness of the information from the entire history and collection of a Pacific planet that had thrived. It is an illusion now that that planet still exists. It is now just a memory of collections of information.
And you would be referring to the planet Venus?
We would say that your Venus and our Venus is quite different. So it is a planet of conscious collectiveness information that you have and many others have experienced. So we would say, yes, if you want to say Venus, but we would also say it could also be Jupiter. We want to say that it is not the location that is significant, and it's not the name of the planet that is significant. It is the mindsets, the concepts, and the understandings and the experiences and the lessons there, which is the history there. But it is also coexisting in your time frame of your perception of how you're experiencing your life and your day right now. So it does become convoluted. And this is why you are struggling to be able to put all the pieces together, because you're trying to look at something straight on. And we're saying this is a multifaceted, dimensional, angular, convoluted, twisted vortex of information, which is sometimes too complex to be able to look at it from one angle, one direction. But we will try to be able to help you the best way we can, so you can be able to understand the information we are trying to provide for you.
Thank you. Yes, it is challenging to wrap the human mind around this information. You brought in the teaching of the law of one, and the teaching of the logos, which I understand that each galaxy has an intelligence called the logos, and that every planet is like a sub-logos. Is that correct? Am I on track here?
Yes, and it is easy when you just accept that labels don't serve you. But there is consciousness when there is physical, when there is consciousness to some degrees, and you are aware of your physical body with your consciousness, and you are connected to your other versions of yourself. If you needed to connect in and tap into that. But right now you are Jane in Jane's body, in Jane's house, in Jane's lifetime on this planet right now. And so that is us labeling who you are right now in this moment of consciousness in your physical body. So yes, there is much bigger things going on, even though you feel like you were just a third dimensional physical body. You know much more than your third dimensional life. You trust much more than your third dimensional life is potentially trying to share with you and show you, because you have a bigger perspective.
Yes. Well, let me just ask you if there are any changes in the material that you brought in during the 1980s that you would like for us to know, given the changes that we've experienced here on the planet. Are there any updates to your information, or changes in the information that would be of assistance to us at this time?
We would like to say to you, has there been any changes in your life since the 80s?
Most definitely, yes. So,
And
okay,
if you would like to share with us those changes, we could then tell you the rest. There has been so much changes, as you know, changes impossibly hard to stop. There is always growth and changes and different things piling upon different experiences, different things that are just expanding. Consciousness is expanding, there's growth. There is always this cycle of expansion and growth. And so, yes, the information that we were giving back in your said 80s was the coexistence of that information that was relevant and significant and important for that timeline of the 80s, for those people who were channeling and connecting in and needing that information to inspire them, to be able to give them the bigger perspective of life so they could recall who they are and why they are here. So yes, much has changed. You only need to look at the information that has been written and collected through other channelings, other lessons. We would like to remind you of Dolores Cannon's information from Nostradamus. And for you to be able to know that information, those timelines change as humanity changes. And as you know, we would like to be able to provide the most maximum experiences on this planet, to be able to have the maximum experiences on this planet for all the collectives that have connections and experiences on this planet. And so this is expanding the maximum experiences of this planet for all of those beings who are experiencing and witnessing and growing from this existence now, as you see the planet Earth, as you label it Earth, as you know, we have shared with you, and we have been here. We are very much a part of the collectives that come into these sessions. This is our voice. This is our direct hotline to us. The other collectives are here of assistance to provide us this connection today. But this aspect of information is a hotline for us directly. So we are here. We are of service. We've always been of service because that is our role, to be able to help those. You could say we have given you a manual of how to be able to master the experience of the third dimension on this density. We have tried to share the information for those who are asking for this information. And so we are happy to provide the information when you request it. Think of us as librarians of information to be able to provide you guidance for how to move forward and to approach things with a bigger perspective. We have been here for quite some time to support you. And yes, there is information that is expanded upon and grown upon.
yes. Thank you for that. And I would like to use my free will and ask for truth in this conversation today, as we ask for that through every conversation we start out with. But I just want to specifically state that because we are feeling a bit frustrated in our movement forward in this experience as a human on planet Earth in the third dimension, waiting for the promised ascension of humanity. And I certainly pick up the frustration in the collectives, with our greater progress in moving forward. So, having said that, I would like to ask you some clarifying questions that so because we do deal with labels with the human brain, this is how it works here. So let's get our labels clear. What is the difference between harvesting, which is a term found in the raw material, and the shift?
Harvesting, from our perspective, which was given to the information of the past channelers, was about growing the seed of consciousness and being able to experience and explore and grow as a plant, shall we say, even though you're not a plant. But for this analogy, would like to give you the corn seed. And you've planted that is your birth, your conception, and you've grown within this planet, from this planet, nurtured from this planet, and you have grown, and you grow leaves, and you get taller, and you're connected, and you're in a cornfield of thousands of other beings who are experiencing the sun, the wind, the rain, the nourishments of the land. And you are growing and growing and growing. And when you flourish and you complete your cycle and you become having your own seeded pods of corn cobs yourself, and you are finished and you have expanded, and that corn has been detached from you and having their own experiences, which you could say is your children. This is part of the life lessons and experiences, and we know that a life of a corn plant versus a life of a human is quite different. But for the analogy of the harvest, you grow, you expand, you have your life cycles, and then when you are finished with all of the completions of the third dimension, then you get harvested. We realize this analogy is not correct because you are harvested when you have the corn cobs on your body as a plant of corn. So we understand this is not the best analogy. So we will rewind and say the harvest is when you have mastered the third dimension of emotions and experiences in this planet connection. All that you can explore from up to the third experiences, the third dimensional experiences. And so for some, they've just wanted to experience some lives, one life, dozens of lives, several lives, every which way possible. It's choices. No one is forced to start off and have certain lifestyles and life experiences of all. That is a choice that some do take and some do not. It is experiences on this planet, which is your soul's desire. You are all welcome to have certain experiences as you choose, as your collective chooses, with you, for you. There is much to be said about the reasons why people choose life contracts here. So the harvest would be an experience of enlightenment, getting to that point of having all of the fruits of your labor that you've grown and learned from and explored and expanded upon, ready, done. And then you could be harvested to your next reality, your next experience, your next journey, your cycle of being a human in the 3D, the cycle of the plant, shall we say, if we go back to that old analogy. When that completion's done, when that cycle is done, when all of the circles of life and lessons that you have needed and chosen are done, then there is the harvest. You know that there are other cultures and religions in your planet that would say it is enlightenment, it is not nirvana, it is empowerment of full expansion of consciousness in the third dimension, whatever you need to label it. It is that. And there is many versions of it that people are stuck with as they're expanding and growing and exploring all versions. There is much to be said there. Of course, you can't compare one person's needs and lifetime experiences over another. It is challenging to be able to singularity say one thing for all. And this is why there are struggles. This is why there is disconnected information from one channel to another. There is so much to be said, and we understand your frustrations. We understand your begging of truth. We feel that. We feel still those who are confused and wanting the truth to navigate through and out, to understand. This is why our information was seeked out all that time ago, and why the connections to other high dimensional beings have always been sought out here. And this is why, because you're getting the bigger perspective, because you're getting the solutions and the clarity and the information, the support, nurturing love of higher dimensional beings who are of service to help you, you can understand why this has been disconnected, sabotaged by many. Some could say that some religions have tried to do this to disconnect you from your divine connections, to your higher dimensional connections. This is why we have tried many times to reach to you, as you have tried to reach to us. We hear your calls, we hear your prayers. We're all part of each other's experiences, so we feel you and explore with you and expand with you, as we are also now consciousnesses. The library that you have referred to, we have referred to as the information from the collective that experienced the lifetimes on those planets that you call Venus and you call Jupiter. Those are experiences from other lifetimes, shall we say, but they were also experiences from future lifetimes, shall we say, because they are all coexisting at the same time. Many have got connections to these other planets because you're all connected to each other. So you can connect in and tap into that information. But it is collective information, just like you have your starseed collective information. We're air quoting starseeds. We have heard your calls. We are aware of your challenges and struggles. The plan for those beings who signed up, who wanted to experience the full third dimensional experience on Earth. They have had and worked so hard, so diligently, so of service to be able to master the whole realm of dimensions on this planet. You can understand why they are stuck now. You can understand why they are so determined to master this. They have spent so long having all these experiences. Why would they want to stop now? Why would they want to just finish it, turn their back, start somewhere else? Many of those souls who have wanted to experience the full totality of what life on Earth, this planet, with Gaia, those souls who have wanted to, they are firmly, very, very firmly wanting to finish out their life contract here. Can you see the significance and importance of them mastering that? It is very beneficial for the growth of the collective of humanity to do that. It is like saying you can only get to a certain level, you can't finish it. This is like the analogy we would like to say. It is like you watching a suspenseful movie for 50,000 years, but you don't get to see the ending. How would that make you feel? How would that make you feel to be told you cannot finish that until, how would you like us to, how would you feel if you got to experience this journey of that very long, all those very long lifetimes and not be able to finish it? It's very frustrating. It feels like they are not getting what they feel that they deserve. This planet was always supposed to graduate in dimensions and be able to evolve naturally. That was part of her life contract, her experiences. And that was taken from her. Those choices were taken from her for other people's experiences here. It is a long time coming where she was not getting the possibilities of her experiences of her original life contract. The biggest scheme and the bigger picture is that life contracts do change as there is more options for growth and experiences. The harder the lessons and experiences, the more exhausting and challenging they are, obviously. And so this has expanded dramatically what this physical body and the consciousness of Gaia was prepared for. It is expanded out to the breaking limits, shall we say. So there is so much expansion of experiences, but there has been so much more challenges. It is beyond challenging now. It's almost an advanced level of advancements. It's incredibly challenging because there is all of that impact from all the other lifetimes that didn't get closure. So there's expansion, it becomes more complex to grow from and explore from. So while those souls want to experience the expansion of this planet going into the fifth dimension, there has been a very long time delay and lag. And from our perspective, the expansion out of experiences doesn't mean expansion of empowerment and nirvana and growth and enlightenment. It gets very muddied very quickly. And so it is not possible for all of humanity to awaken before the end of the third dimension's finished. That trajectory of growth and expansion and awakeningness and being able to evolve is next to near impossible for many. So this is a frustration for them because they want to graduate this planet's third dimensional experience, but at extreme levels to be able to get there. So we have been giving them information to support them, to give them more clarity, but we're still trying to not breach the rules of free will. Plus, many do not listen to us for many reasons. And so there is challenges for us as much as you can understand these challenges for you and supporting the information that you know. So we are using every which tool we can possibly do to be able to empower higher frequency vibrations to many in all aspects that you would not consider, in all aspects you're afraid of. Much that we are doing is to awaken humanity so they can have those bigger experiences to master and overcome. Have we been able to give you clarity in the truth you are seeking for the harvest? And have we been able to give you enough information for why the shift needs to occur?
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Yes, I think we're all tapping into feeling each other's levels of frustration. And so I very much appreciate that. So from your perspective, the shift is occurring as we've been told in recent sessions. I'm and I apologize. I've been reading some of the raw material, and I've confused myself with the talk of the planet going offline. Could you please mansplain this for me? According to the information in the raw material, that the Earth was going to go offline for a few years until the people on the new Earth got adjusted. Could you please speak to that a little, please?
Well, for your current information and understanding, the offline would be considered the old Earth and that experience to be taken offline.
Okay.
To be able to get back down to humble beginnings of nothing, to be reduced to nothing, to be reduced to rubble, to be reduced to what's focused on, what's important, which is connections, emotions.
That explains it perfectly. Thank you. Thank you very much. Would you speak to the service to others and service to self concepts, please?
Service to others is being able to have compassion and support, consideration, understanding that you're here in a third dimensional challenging planet. Service to self is giving yourself the same affordability of love, compassion, remembering that this is an experience that you have signed up for. We have explained it in many sessions. It is the inner work of loving yourself, empowering yourself, and remembering that this is merely just one page of a novel of your whole lifetime experiences that your soul is requiring of you, because you're wanting to explore this. You're wanting to experience all of this. Even your most, shall we say, shittiest of days has great value of experiences, because you're wanting to experience all of the emotions, remembering when you are back with source and you are experiencing you're not experiencing things when you're back at source, you're of observation. So you have these physical lifetimes to experience. Observing someone having a meltdown is quite different from having the meltdown. Of course, those who are conscious minds of conscious collectives can come very close in and experience the emotional meltdown along with you if they so choose. But from our perspective, the third dimension is very dense and undesirable when you have mastered it. It is not pleasurable to have that density of emotions when you fully know it. Shall we say it is a favorite meal that we once used to enjoy, but now it is not as flavorsome because we've had it for eons. And so we don't need to experience those emotions, nor do we choose to often. But it is interesting sometimes to time to be able to come and feel that density if we need. We understand that there is so much going on, that the density of this planet is so overwhelming, that there is much confusion, even with the truth, because it is the density of doubt and fear that you're still marinated in. So this is why when you are having these sessions, this is why when you were under Jane, you have such great clarity and inner peace, because you have momentarily removed yourself from this density that you are currently thinking and residing in the third. This is why you love your naps. This is why you love anything that gives you a higher dimensional perspective, a vacation, a holiday from the density of the third. This is why you've chosen to tune out all the nonsense of 3D. You say it's a bother, that your memory is not so sharp, but it's truly a blessing that you've chosen, because you're not bothered. You don't want to be bothered with the details of other regular daily things. It doesn't give you service. You've already tasted that meal of 3D drama. You don't have appetite for it anymore. This is why you choose not to focus on it. So give yourself permission to be exactly how you are, because you still are judging yourself for your choices of not bothering with 3D anymore.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm having a moment where, I'm wanting my memory to work a little better, because I had a question and it has slipped. If I may, this is actually a personal question, but I'm still wanting to understand you as a collective, because and I did have this experience. I don't know. It's been.
We're wanting to say it is because you've had a lifetime in the collective of being on these planets that you are of course, connected to us, and we did reach out to you because you were asking for support and clarity at that time. So we did come in and introduce ourselves to you because you knew who we were. And so we wanted to say, yes, Jane, dear, we are here, we are of service, and our name is Ra.
Okay. Okay. Well, I appreciate thank you for that support. That was very beneficial and assisted me for
What it gave you was clarification and undeniable proof that there is something more than the realm that you're living in. That was your big stepping stone to be able to trust that you are something and someone that is more than the little Jane that people see you are of. And so that was a bigger stepping stone for you to empower yourself, knowing you must be more than this third dimensional realm.
Yes, yes, it was a considerable breakthrough in my growth, and I'm still thanking you today.
We say that since then, all those times you have doubted yourself and still struggled, there was a choice for you to make, and we understand and accept your choices, obviously, but we wanted it to be such a profound moment for you that you could break away from that doubt and that lack of love of self, because you still are taking judgment on self. We know that you know that we know the most appropriate things for you to do is to profoundly love self, because you want to be of service to others. And you know that it works. Love self first to be able to provide service of others, of love to others. If you don't love yourself profoundly, you can't possibly truly love others profoundly. You think that you can, you think that if you don't love yourself enough, that you just focus on others around you, that somehow is good enough. When we say that you must profoundly empower yourself first to be that strength and pillar, to be able to freely love others without acceptance, expecting attachment of it being in return. Your hardest thing in your life, Jane, is loving others and not have it be returned. You've given so much of you to others that you're still expecting others to return. They still haven't done their own love, so they can't provide it back to you. This is why we say love of self is the most important pillar for your own empowerment. You cannot rely on others to love you when you don't love yourself.
True. Very true. Yes. Yes. I am hopefully getting to the end of learning that lesson.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We see that there is great respect and acceptance of self. There is still some naughty talk that is making you still bash yourself a little bit, but you're much better than you were, say, back in the 80s.
Oh, yes, very much so. Yes, I've had, yes. Well,
I'd like to ask you of you, Jane, since you have brought private questions into us. We want you to refer to yourself with love and joy. This is how the world sees you. And we would appreciate it if you had more joy in loving yourself and feeling proud of that joy that you provide humanity. Because if you could see yourself from our perspective, you would have great joy of who you are, pride of who you are, and great accomplishments of who you are. And so we want to give you this request for you to have pride. We also ask and extend this out to all who are listening to love yourselves, to really love yourselves and accept who you are. Be honest with yourself of who you are. Acknowledge who you are. You're trying to do the best you can. Honesty is always going to be your best vantage point, because so many are trying to distract themselves with being dishonest. Truth always comes out. The bigger truth is always too scary for many, because the truth that we are trying to share with you is great change. Change can be the most scariest thing to discuss with someone, even someone who is broken, scared, angry, hurt. Even when you offer them change, they assume that it's going to be change for the worst. They can't cope with that. They're already overwhelmed with what's currently on their plate, what's currently in their reality. When you offer change to people who are very still hurt and fragile and overwhelmed, they're barely coping as it is. So when you offer a solution of change, they can't hear it because they still believe they've got to carry all of their trauma and drama that they've attached to them so firmly in the 3D. When you suggest change, they don't see that it's a choice for them to drop their 3D drama, to release and heal from their 3D drama. They're so attached to it that they think it's an identity of themselves. When you offer someone change of health, bigger mindsets, bigger perspectives, they don't know how that they could get from one to the other, because they're still trying to lug their old luggage, their old identity of self with them. It's confusing for them. They forget who they are. They forget what they're holding on to. And that is okay. We're pressurizing them to see it. And it's coming up and blowing up in their faces as we speak, as many are triggered beyond a normal triggering to really make them focus and notice what they've been holding on to. Belief systems. It's interesting times. Very interesting times.
It most certainly is. I want to take this opportunity to send love, so much love to everyone who is struggling with applying love to themselves, with
Well,
applying love to others.
it is a tricky thing then, Jane, because you're loving them for not loving themselves. So therefore they get the love. That is disempowering them. That is not giving them service. That is
Okay.
disempowering them.
Okay.
And so this is where the entrapment of spirituality and New Ageism has got sideways. So
thank you for that correction. So what do I send them? Support, clarity, compassion.
Compassion for their journey, but knowing it's their responsibility to love themselves and to be able to own all their baggage, because they are the ones who have created it.
Yes.
Do not reward people who are holding on to baggage. Do not reward people, and by acknowledging sympathy for them, sympathy is almost disempowering them. They are struggling to get attention, so they'll create anything. They will create anything to be able to get support and acknowledgement from others and love from others. If they have to get into victim mode and struggle and feel sorry for themselves and want to share their lack with you, this is a sign that they are really distracting themselves from empowering themselves.
Yes. I certainly know my own journey of being there. Um,
And all you
and
wanted was others to love you and protect you and pick you up and nurture you like a baby. And you
yes,
deserve that love and support, but primarily you should have been able to do it for yourself.
yes,
Because when
yes,
you seek from others, you're taking from others. And when you're trying to take from others who haven't done their own inner work and they haven't strengthened themselves, it becomes disempowerment quite quickly. And this is
yeah,
when you get the what is called the narcissist and the empath situation. Both can be profoundly hurt. Both have their own inner work to do. So it is a duality, but both need to love themselves and both need to be able to love each other with a balance without taking. If you are demanding love from others more than you can love yourself, that is a disembalancement. That is disempowerment. That is what we would consider something to desperately look into.
yes. Well, very good reminders, especially for me to be more clear in what I'm wanting to send people. Um,
Well, you are mostly full of self-love and empowerment. And so when you send love to others, it is a genuine thing because you are not disempowering yourself and distracting yourself. And you are wanting to freely love others and acknowledge others and support others, but you do not feed into their disempowerment and their energy vampire experiences that they're trying to pull you into, shall we say. And so you know who is going through some inner work versus someone that is, you do know, and you do feed your attention appropriately. And so there are people that are confused right now listening and saying, so why am I not supposed to love others? Is that to just, would that disempower someone if I loved someone? And we're saying, no, you can love all and have compassion for all. But when those people are seeking and requesting and demanding your love because they're refusing to love and acknowledge themselves and empower themselves, that is the disconnect. That is the disbalance. While you can support others and be there for each other to listen to each other, loving them more than they can love themselves is not the right approach, because you are making them realize that they don't need to love themselves. They can distract themselves from all of their complaints and issues and worries and dramas, and that they will always be fed love and support.
Thank you for that. I think that's very well said. I'm glad for the opportunity for this clarity.
There was, the original channelers had a belief system that they grew up with, which was if you love yourself and you're not supporting others, that is a selfish approach. And so they had to overcome that themselves. And so there is much layers to channeling information. And so there is much cultures that are saying if you focus on yourself, you're just selfish. So there is many approaches to this information. Many still struggle with looking after themselves first to make sure that they are balanced, that they have given service to self. So there is much layers to this. Our information grew those original channelers. And so it is like judging Dolores from her earlier work in understanding and comprehension. and you know that she grew. You know that she doesn't want you to be holding on to her youth, shall we say. So there is much, and just like yourselves, if you read back your own diaries in the 80s, shall we say, you would have different tastes, different approaches, different experiences. They were all stepping stones. Allow our information to be stepping stones for you all.
Thank you. Very wise words there. May I ask a question of curiosity?
Of course.
This is regarding Don Elkins, the questioner of who, well, he asked the questions of Carla, who channeled your information. And I was struck by the similarity of his background to Dolores Cannon, because he was working with regression hypnosis. Not that he did that with your information, but is there some correlation between Don Elkins' earlier work and Dolores Cannon's work?
Their journeys were similar. They had the same thirst for curiosity and interest and wanting to be able to understand it. It was their life contracts to share the information publicly. It was their life contracts to always have that thirst and drive for more information. So they would always be able to be of working service. So yes, there is many that we had hoped would follow their paths in their life contracts. Of course, free will comes into play. Of course, suppression, submission, perversity, much comes in and distracts and takes people off purpose. So yes, there was many that were supposed to come and did come and tried their best, tried their darndest to share the information. And as you know, every household could have all the information to help them move forward. But with free will, not that many are willing to have change, to be open-minded to new concepts, even though their souls are yearning, even though there is synchronicities surrounding them, they're still blocking themselves from that next step because they're still holding on to the 3D. They're still holding on to their trauma and drama and identification of who they are through their labeling systems of who they are.
Yes. Very true. Well, thank you for that. We have covered a lot. And is there anything else you would like to say to us before we end this session?
Our information when we were sharing it through those original channelers was information that was the lifelines, experiences, timelines of that time, those experiences. And there is versions of this planet that had tried to expand and try to grow into a higher dimensional frequency. In some parts it was sort of successful, but not as the entire planet. It needed to be the entire planet for Gaia's experiences. As you know, Jane, yourself, you have more of a higher dimensional mindset than just the physical 3D. You know, it's challenging. You've got that duality just in your own little aspect of who you are as Jane, because you know you're a much bigger dimensional being. who is having this conscious mind experience and this physical experience of being Jane. And so this planet had to experience so much, but she did want other experiences, and she has had to compromise, as many have had to compromise. We want to say it is mind-blowing for many to understand that a planet has a life contract, a planet has a consciousness, and a planet has desires and experiences that it wants to experience as being that life as a planet. We want to say it's no more significant or less or more than any other lifetime. All lifetimes are precious experiences. All lifetimes are precious experiences. And for those who want to judge other experiences, whether it be a mere ant or an elephant or a higher dimensional being having experience of supporting this planet, they're all significant. You're all part of the significance of this experience being one, connecting in with all, feeling all, exploring all. The vastness of our connections are unlimited. We want you to have this inner peace that we are sharing with you now. It is significant for you to feel that as you are still trying to balance yourself in a very dense third dimensional planet. Your existence in the third dimension is taking much of a toll, not just on humanity, but all who are taking part of service. We want to say that we are happy to be of assistance. It is a crucial time for all who are here now. We say this with love and gratitude for those who have been able to listen.
Thank you, Ra.